Good afternoon. My name is Alanna Starr, and I'm here with Misha Tedrick, and we're gonna go by Misha today because that's what she goes by. I met Misha recently, and I was captured by her passion and her energy, and we got talking, and I really enjoyed our conversation. And I was like, I'd love to get your interview and learn about you and what you do, and what you share with the world. I know that Misha is a mother of 4, and if that's not enough work
Right.
itself,
Right.
that's a lot of work, and it's a beautiful thing. But she's also a studier of 27 years and non-denominational studying of religious studies and spirituality. And she is some type of ceremonialist, because she's involved with a lot of ceremonialists. You can correct me after I'm going off. And not only that, but she is, I think the most fascinating thing that we got talking about was her passion for Hermetics and our goddess discussion that we had. And so, Misha, I want you to introduce yourself a little better than I can and tell me, a little bit about your background, and tell me, because we got introduced through Tata Jose, our Mayan daykeeper friend, who's an incredible ceremonialist and mind teacher. Please tell me how you met him, how you got involved with him, and your background.
Okay. Thank you so much. I am so honored that you wanted to ask. Truly. Thank you. Real quick, I think I have to give all credit to my grandmother, because we were, my mother, my grandmother, and myself, very feminine household. The dog was the only male, and they were very Catholic. We went to church on Sundays. We read the Bible. We practiced the Bible. She was an angel. I realize now she was an angel, but like even when I was a little kid, we were talking about like Nostradamus, and she gave me books on Edgar Cayce, and we'd talk about like what the church did, and we'd talk about how they should be, and maybe they should be a little more giving with money. It was interesting. All of the late night mysterious conversations were with my grandmother. So I am traditional Catholic. I was confirmed, catechism. I had a lot of questions. I got in a lot of trouble when I was younger, and when I find something that doesn't make sense, it bugs me, and I can't let it go. So I've learned to let some things go, but this journey took me on probably since I was a teenager, and I will be 48 in 5 days.
Happy early
Around the world, thank you, to every religious doctrine, culture, person I could get my hands on. Nothing through a college, nothing through a school. It was really interesting. I would focus on something, and then all of a sudden all these people that had all this knowledge would just be there. It was really interesting. And so this went on and on and on. I'd have a question, it would get answered. I'd go the wrong way. I remember reading some books where I just literally had to kind of sit with that information for a year, and I can look back and see all these like different stages as I was like assimilating everything and feeling the contradictions. And I finally believe that I can see a similar teaching in just about any religion that's presented. And so I've said it before, I've written it, that I believe there's a truth and a lie in just about everything that's presented to us. I really like the Tao and how they speak about things, because they say, like, with God and spirituality, you can truly only speak around it, but once we define it, we just kind of screwed it up.
I'm a big Tao fan as well. I open it up every now and then and just get my message, and they're usually spot on.
Yeah. Totally. I really like Buddhism. And I was talking to my mother about that, because, with Christianity, the belief is that Jesus is a son of God. So of course this being is going to be like amazing, but like Buddha was like a rich prince, we're talking about like Siddhartha. So this is someone who like actually went through all of the temptations of the world, and then still kind of became a really good person. And I love it because Buddha never said he was enlightened. Everyone looks at this teacher So I was kind of into that for a while, and then I met through Andrew Eckert and Monica Patton, absolutely upstanding, beautiful members of our Arizona community. These are my heroes. These people are out there like every day helping. They facilitate drum circles, and so he created this gathering in a very sacred place. Forgive me if I don't remember the name of the park, but it was a sacred Native American place where they would go to meet the Kachinas, the sky people. And he brought together all of the elders from probably, and I'm going to get in the comments and talk to them and find the exact number later, but probably anywhere from 7 to 10 tribes. This was where I met Tata Jose. I met a Hopi medicine man, Navajo medicine man, Apache, Lakota, many tribes that I unfortunately would mispronounce, and I don't want to not give the honor that is needed there. But again, I'm a really big fan of, like, if we talk about this, I'm going to come back later and see what I can do and throw some links in. You know, if you reference something, there's comments beneath the video. You know, let's continue a conversation about this. You know, did I answer that correctly? Or?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. This journey through different religions took me through a process where I was asked to become an ordained minister. And I didn't want to talk to people. I didn't feel like I knew anything that was worth saying. But I really felt moved by the person that wanted to ordain me. So I spent the last 27 years learning, you know, about well-being on a body, mind, emotion, and spiritual level. And I don't really want to say that I know anything, but I think we can have some good conversations and learn together. You know, I'm a student. This is gray hair, but I'm not an elder. You know, I don't sit right there in circle, but to some people in my community, I'm an elder. And with some things, with our personal experience, you know, we talk about the value of, if you sit in a classroom in college and someone else teaches you a book that someone else learned, and then they give you a certificate, you have no real life experience with that situation, you know. So a lot of times I feel like we are asked to also look at the people in our community who have had experiences, you know, and pulled themselves out of it, and they can be our guides. The same way as if I wanted to, like, go raft the Grand Canyon, it would not be a good idea for me to get a raft and just be like, oh, that looks like a good place to throw in the water, let's go. You know, I want to go to someone who has spent their life there and who has run that river and who goes and checks it in the flood season and who goes and checks it like every day and make sure there's not like a weird log there that's going to kill everyone, you know, and who has the ability to get in there and swim and pull people out. So to me, those are the elders, you know, but that doesn't mean that Grand Canyon guy is going to be a good city person, you know, like that's their thing. And I think that when we all come together, we get to find out like what area our guide is in. I have spent the last few years being blessed with the company of elders from First Nation cultures that hold a lot of knowledge that is not in books. I still cry over the burning of the Library of Alexandria, and I hope some of that stuff is in the Vatican and that y'all let it out because people need to see it. But I don't know. I like that we sit in circle. I like that we all realize that no one's a guru, you know, but that maybe they have a piece of information that aligns with you. You know, everything I say is not right. Please disclaimer. You know, take it as you feel. If it sits somewhere in you and it causes a disturbance, look at it. Question me on it. Question yourself on it. It means something's off. It's either our own belief is off, or we haven't completed the amount of information that comes to it. And with that being said, I don't think there's ever a mastery or ever a completion of information. You know, I think it's why we call it a spiritual practice or a medical practice or something like that, because we're always just practicing. I think that's good.
I agree. I was going to say just a little bit ago when you were talking about going with the elders and letting someone with experience guide you. I definitely am one of the same kind of people. Like, I just love learning and researching and seeking out people that I can learn from. But I also have that sacred wind. That's my in astrology and manifestor and the human design. So if you're familiar with those types of people, they're like tsunamis when they come in and they learn like directly by experience and hitting their head and things like that. But I could definitely relate to that. And that's really amazing. And I could feel the energy about you that you carry, you do carry a lot of wisdom. And I am the kind of person also that even though, I think that I never feel like I have enough learning under my belt, not enough research under my belt to say that I know, but I definitely know, I have that gnosis. We have that gnosis inside. And so I utilize that, and I communicate with that a lot, that wisdom that is not really me, but it's inside me. But it is part of me, so it's like part of my research, part of my learning and my experience. And the part of it is that gnosis, that is like that connection of why we like to get together in ceremony, because we activate that even stronger within ourselves. And I think that's really nice that you are a part of those communities. And I think I've heard Arizona has a lot of sacred land out there. Is that so?
Incredible.
I would love to visit one day.
Yes, I would love to show you some things. Okay, so I'm a manifesting generator, and so I'm a blue monkey, and I have like storm and all this like crazy stuff in there. So I'm about to get a reading with Shuni, who is the female version of Jose, who I really would love to, her.
I just saw her as a mutual friend. It was telling me to make a mutual friend suggestion on Facebook, and I looked at her page. I feel like I've met her before, but I'm not sure. But I definitely love her energy. I haven't even met her yet, but I've
She's
heard
like the Mayan high priestess.
I've heard a lot about her, and that's amazing. So I think I look forward to hearing about that when it's done. So I would like to guide this conversation in a way where we can learn a little bit about your a little more about your passions when it comes to your spirituality. I'd love to know your interviews of because I know last time when we had the show with Tata Jose, you had chimed in and you were sharing about how we can counter all of the dark forces that exist here and that we're faced with on a daily basis, just from regular small things we deal with to like major things such as human trafficking and black magic and things like that. That's what we kind of touched base. I was just kind of like, I believe it's real, and like we have to acknowledge that it's real. And then but you shared a really nice aspect to it, so that's why another reason why I wanted to bring you on, because I think that having people who could neutralize things is really important right now. And I love that you're like, don't trust me, do your own research, because I've noticed a lot of people are being attacked right now just from sharing what they think. And this is the age of information, the age of technology, the age of deception. Everything's coming out now. I mean, hopefully even more comes out, and it's going to trigger a lot of people. So can you tell me, like, give me a little bit of feedback on how you think people can handle being revealed information? Because we know, as spiritualists, we know that the apocalypse is the lifting of the veil. And it goes little by little based off of your consciousness. So how could you give advice to somebody that is being revealed a lot of things and and gets defensive? How would you feed that?
This is a daily conversation that we are having in our community right now, and it is rough. We've always, I think, as humans, as far back as I can look through history, have found a reason to seek division. I have theories on that, but this experience that we're having right now is set in the psychology of the brain that puts us in fight or flight mode, and that's genetic wiring to survive. There's a a really cool little chapter or two of imprinting on a book called Prometheus Rising, and how we have like these circuits of our brain. And it was also kind of in reference to what we talked about before with how we exchange energy with other people. We are experiencing change. We are experiencing loss of control. No one is asking us what we need. We are completely at the mercy of other people. Our country in particular is very split on if they trusted those people in the first place. So there's a lot of fear going around, and I think that in the want to find a safe boat in the harbor, we're conditioned to just jump on the piece of information that has like the highest PhD or the most respected person, the most respected corporation. Like, you know, if the FDA says it, it's safe. If the CDC says it, it's safe. You know, because it can't be possible that these people wouldn't be good, because we have all of these people. There's literally, you know, thousands of people in there.
They start attacking that it's all conspiracy, that we're
Right.
just theories. But I mean, when you break
Right.
apart conspiracy and theory, they're two different things.
Yeah, this is a good point. So like the term conspiracy theory, and please research this, was coined at the time of the JFK assassination. Mm-hmm. And it was created by the CIA psychological department because they realized that to manipulate people, like 80 to 90% of them, you can just shame them and they'll shut up. That's it. That's all you have to do is shame them. That's all you have to do is make fun of them, you know? And so like I read this a long time ago, and I'm like, holy crap. Like I remember being a kid and watching Saturday Night Live and seeing them make fun of like these people do like affirmations in the mirror, right? And like we all laughed at it, and then like, and then I'm getting into psychology later, and I'm like, oh my God, what did they do? What did they do? You know, oh, the tree huggers. Oh, look at the tree huggers, look at the hippies. So the hippie, this is what I get called when I talk about natural medicine or natural cures, or, you know,
I used to get offended.
Your energy electrical body. Or
I used to get offended of it, but now I'm like, that's a compliment. Thank you.
I'm like, yes, I have hugged a tree, but I prefer to sit underneath it and lean on it. Up to you. Preference.
Yeah, or even like you see Jim Carrey like making fun of it with the tongue thing. You know, I'm not sure if you've seen that, but now it's like even more. Now it's like, it's not just making fun of hippies, it's actually like showing you occult things and like making it a joke when clearly, you know, they're actually partaking in that stuff.
I'm not sure if he's trying to just like rebel a little bit.
I don't understand
him. Yeah, like so I'm really trying not to assume. So here, oh God, thank you for bringing it back to that. So the Four Agreements, right, which is a book that's accredited to the Yaqui Indians. So I spent some time, thank you to Neo Tribal, meeting a Hopi elder. This is also lovely. They just answered all of our questions. I think I like stayed up for like 3 days, pretty much, just not even, just coffee and water, you know, because there was so much information that was just being answered. All these pieces from all these different tribes. Yes, the Kachina are star people. Yes, they're our ancestors. That's where we got the corn from. You know, it's like, that's where we got this stuff from. And then you check the DNA of corn and tobacco, and you're like, what? It's totally different than any other DNA.
That's why they just,
you know, and we're like, oh my God, this is backed up by science. You know, you look at, I'm sorry.
I would say they mess up. They genetically modify those things a lot. Tobacco is a sacred thing, and the corn's all modified now. So it makes sense that they would do that. I didn't know.
It's crazy.
Go ahead.
So it's really cool. Like all these ancient things are coming out now, and I can see it. They're like, oh, there's science. You know, these like these ancient, beautiful like churches and buildings in other countries with like the Sri Yantra on it, and they're like, oh my God, that's like a sacred geometry and science, and we can see it when we do somatics and harmonics. So it's all coming together. But the Four Agreements was the Yaqui Indian, and then it is also a Hopi thing. So that shows me these two are connected. And then when I studied more with that, I found that the Mayas, the Hopi, the Yaqui, and the Buddhists, these are the ones that all have the same message. And these are the most ancient messages, and they're collaborating each other. So then we do Mayan astrology, Aztec astrology, Western astrology, and Vedic astrology is the four, and all that information correlates.
It all weaves together so well. Yeah.
Right. you know, and then human design, which is like blowing my mind, is
So
just
mind
kind of how
blowing.
like to read the map of yourself, like, and how you work with energies. But this is really cool that all this stuff is becoming available, as long as you don't read some PhD person telling you it's all quackery,
Oh,
you
got it.
know.
Yeah, I've had a couple of people.
Like, at least try it.
I've had a couple of people, like when I'd share something, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, YouTube and watching YouTube videos and reading articles now constitutes for someone having a PhD." And I'm like, you don't understand. Like, you've been conditioned through the mind, you know, brainwashing, that you're not important unless you have this piece of paper.
Mm.
And I mean, I look back and I'm like, the people I've learned the most spiritual or enlightened things are from people. Yeah, I mean, some of them are doctors turned spiritualists that left that field because they know that there's a bunch of lies in it. A lot of doctors I know, but more so spiritual people that are like elders, as you call them, like, you know, from that have ancient history that has been passed down, that's not been you know, covered up in what way. And that's why we even have the Vatican, and why no one even sees what's in there, because it's just always covered up and hidden. So I want you to finish what you were saying about the book, and then go back to, because we cut off when I asked you, when you started talking about the conspiracy theory and how it got started. Okay, so go ahead.
Okay. So the 4 agreements are: always do your best, you know, so you're just up against your own personal best, not anybody else's. Absolutely lovely. Don't make assumptions. Don't take anything personal, and have like full integrity with your word. Very simple, you know, very simple things. So I think for me, this is the best message that I'm using myself, and that I would like to give to people as we are navigating a literal tidal wave of information. And it's not just like a tidal wave, it's almost like if you were on an island and you had tsunamis coming from different directions. So Bob Marley said something about, like, you know, be careful who they have you love and who they have you hate, because it probably should be flipped.
Oh my God, yeah, that's really important for this thing going on with Trump. Like, I'm not like a supporter of anybody in politics because I don't know them personally. Okay, right. So I just want to make that clear. When I say we got to give the guy a chance, doesn't mean, oh, I'm all for that guy. But what I know about the other party is what research I've done for years. You know, it's like all of them are teaming up on this one person, when he's got connections to Tesla and all these like old things that, you know, his human design heart center is defined. So
really,
I looked at it that way. Yes, I've looked at his chart before when I was between Hillary, and Hillary's a woman without a defined heart center and in politics. So I was just, and the whole trafficking thing with her, and, you know, all the sexual abuse things coming out from, you know,
Waco, that she was involved in that.
Stuff.
Benghazi, like, our people died.
So,
like,
you know, I just interject that because people, they do, they say, look at the people that they're attacking in the media, and then flip it.
Right.
It makes sense because they're trying to keep something covered up that's much bigger than we can even imagine, probably.
Right. So let's talk about Dr. Judy, because that's like the perfect intro to that. So one, I watched a clip of the Plandemic movie. I had clips sent to me. I had some information sent to me. I have been researching different things probably, let's see, my son is 16 now, probably 12 years. One of my boys had really bad allergies, and it was only to animals, nothing else, no weird things like everyone normally has, like dust or anything. It was just off the charts with dogs and cats and peanut butter. And he ended up being misdiagnosed by Western medicine for years, just constantly sick. Finally, they did, after about 5 years of treating him for just being constantly sick, the doctor decided, hey, let's do an allergy test. And this was when he ended up in the hospital because he couldn't breathe and his lips were blue. It was very scary.
I can't believe they didn't do an allergy test right away.
That's
right. Crazy.
Isn't it? So thank God, you know, and when I talk about Western medicine, I really want to talk about the compartmentalization of it. I am not saying a negative thing about doctors. I love doctors. I love every single person in the healing field, doctors and nurses and every single one of you out there. We cannot do this without you. We cannot. However, I would like to address your manager. Can I talk to the manager? I'd like to talk to your manager, because the pharmaceutical companies and the schools and all of the boards and everything is all basically tied up in one company, and they have suppressed some things. But again, well, that's later. So let's get back about a good decade, when I like to research things and things don't sit well with me, I go on little journeys. And so this was like a 10-year journey that was supposed to be about allergies. I think it took me on to partly that some of our DNA is not from Earth. Okay, this is it started with allergies, but this is the trail we went down to. It's kind of funny. And that there are possibly some things wrong with the vaccines. Now, a conspiracy theorist is going to say that something's wrong and they know why, and they're going to tell you what it is. And I'm going to tell you what I really feel that the difference is. I'm an investigative, a curious investigator. That's it. I'm a curious investigator, and I'm a mom, and I'm a member of my community, and I feel like something is really wrong. So I don't have all of the answers about why. I don't have all of the answers about who did it. You know, in science, we would present theory and then we would test it. So if people want to use conspiracy theory, it's like, okay, here's my theory. I think it's them. I think it's this. Then let's go put it in a lab and test it, and let's bring up the information. If it were a criminal investigation, I'm pretty sure that we'd be looking at what the motive was. And normally I think we can throw that there's money. Money is a motive. For an example, in the real world, my father, thank God, I love that man. He's incredible. Had a prostate cancer, and he worked for the government a large portion of his life, and he retired pretty high up there. And he had really excellent insurance. So his option for prostate cancer was to use this technology that's been out since 2012, where he didn't have to have chemo. He just got to go sit in like this little like cocoon kind of thing and have a laser go and just take out the cancer. So we had this conversation about why this isn't in every hospital, and it's because all the other hospitals had spent all the money on the chemo setup and all the other stuff, so they just didn't really want to move to that. Meanwhile, where are all the pink ribbon money? Where's that going? Breast cancer, all the runs, all the people, everyone that lost their family.
It's probably going to bribe others, like, to stay on one side or the other.
Mm-hmm. You know, obviously, like right now, it's going to pay people to work from home and insult people on the internet. You know, there's something I'd like to post down here in the comments too. You know, since we're talking about one, we're gonna ask if we can come together in a community and be emotionally mature adults and talk about this together and learn how to have conversations about politics and learn how to have conversations about religion, because that was like 2 generations ago where they told us we can't. And that's just silly. No, you teach people how to do it politely. I can disagree with you and you can disagree with me, and we don't have to call each other names, and I don't have to discredit you, or I don't have to bring up something you did 10 years ago when you're not even the person that you are now. It has nothing to do with it, right? And no one should be doing that to anyone else. And I see that a lot. So if we can get to a point where we can find a place where we can put some information that's all clinical and not have it deleted and not have anyone attacked who wants to come look at it, I think
when we start deleting, when we are forced to delete things or they're taken down, then that's like censorship. And I'd rather see things that don't make sense and decipher it than be told I can't see it. Because then it's like,
yes.
I mean, now we don't know if it was just posted to, I mean, I don't know, the guy who interviewed her, at least the interviewer seemed like a solid person, you know, but we don't know if that was real or not, but I think it's okay for us to listen and learn. But if someone's as big as, you know, the people she's talking about, and it's taken down, and these people are trying to give us vaccinations and all this stuff, it's very fishy, you know. And I think that we have a right to listen to whoever we need to listen to without being attacked.
I agree. One of the things that really stuck out to me is that like the first thing they were trying to discredit her with was that like she stole stuff from a lab that she worked at, you know. And I'm like looking
But she
into
didn't
this,
steal it. She
and
was
I'm like,
confused.
it was her research, and she
Yeah.
found something crazy, and she had to take the evidence to the FBI, because you can't just show up at the FBI and be like, hi, I'm this person and I totally have this idea that these people are doing this. You have to like sneak out and bring it with you and be like, here, look at this, right? So the FBI then took that evidence, looked at it, and somehow now someone's twisting it like, oh, she's a thief, she stole
Oh,
that.
okay. Well, that's a good
And
point, because you're
what?
making a good point about how the FBI has done that a few times, not just in TV. You know, it's just recently released with the Michael Flynn case. That
Where's Mulder?
Where's
Where's
Mulder?
Mulder? Come on.
I have no idea.
I want the truth.
So
No, I
basically,
really believe that a lot of like the FBI, and there's another thing, like when we say the FBI or the medical establishment,
there's always somebody in there.
individuals, give me names, because it
Individuals.
could be one person at the top. It could be 3 people in a company of millions.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
They gotta go.
Very true. So wrapping that back up in that context of the conversation, you were saying that how you would deal with it is you would call upon the books, the 4 agreements, and you use that with discernment during these times. That's
with how we talk to each other.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's hard when it's close to home. And I see that there's emotional manipulation being used. I've seen the emotional manipulation when I look back through history, which the Nazis perfected in propaganda, and in which our own government has spent millions learning about how to get people to do what you want, how to get them to not do what you want. But I don't really see that being used for good. I don't see all of the psychology that they spent all this money on being used to make sure that like all of us are mentally and emotionally like happy. You know, I don't see that support. I see a lot of divisiveness, and I want to know where that comes from, because it's, to me, that is the most unclear thing. I have this like really intuitive sense that everyone is being played against everybody else, and the people that are doing it are not even on the board. They're not even on the board, and everyone's trying to say, oh this and oh this. And honestly, it's probably easier to set someone up than it is to actually be caught, because you know what people are looking for, and we've seen this happen. You know, we know we've made mistakes. I mean, Mandela, you know.
I think it goes back a little bit to the conversation that got us talking, is when you responded back to what we were talking about in Jose's video about why these things are happening. And I think it does go back to a bit of a feeding, like we're kind of food a little bit. And it's kind of weird to think about that. And that's another thing that people, a lot of people can't fathom, is the idea that the predator versus prey thing. They watch so much TV, and then they think that none of those things could be real. And it just confuses people. You know, it's like, oh, maybe they watch too much TV. You know, so but that's the confusion. So we just have to know that we're living in times where, I mean, there's a lot of magic going on, and it's in us, but it's also being used on us. And like I said, feeding is like, we don't really know what the motives are for keeping us so scattered and separated from each other. But at the end of the day, we can only hope that, you know, after watching yesterday, I was shown a couple of videos that were debriefings from the White House. And I feel like they're trying to put out things that are a little more positive. And if you always listen to the people asking the questions, that the media in the room, like the journalists and things like that, they always ask questions that are just like, have nothing to do with what they were discussing, and they're just always attacking, and they don't give him a chance to be a hero. It's like he's just constantly attacked, and I think that speaks tremendous. You know, it speaks a lot. It really does.
I agree. I also feel like they are not, and I watched in the beginning, they are, the media as a majority is not asking the questions that the people want answered. You know, I mean, I'm just like, can you please put little corporate patches on your suit? Like, I'm here representing the airline industry, and I'm here representing the stock market and the economy and the economy and the economy. Well, it's like everyone got bailed out. You know, we've got a novel virus. No one knows where it came from. People, we've watched it run through 4 countries. I watched people be welded in their homes. You know, they wouldn't let the WHO in there. The information that's coming out from so many different people and being scrubbed, and then the information from doctors and all of this, it's very confusing. But what isn't confusing is that there are people who are lower income who are slipping through the cracks.
Yeah.
You know, and
Go figure.
right, but hey, let's put another 3 trillion into the banks, you know, because they proved that, like, when the housing crash happened, that they're going to do the right thing and not give themselves bonuses or anything, and, you know, they're going to help the people. I'm sorry, I'm really sarcastic, but no, I mean, it's not going to the right place. If we're a country and we're leadership, and this is our home, this is my home, right? So here we go, this is one of it. We're president. No, let's not do that. But if this were my home, I would make sure that every single person in it had food, shelter, and security. And then if we needed to shut everything down, then yeah, let's shut it down, because no one's going to be freaking out trying to go back out there if this is something horrible. If the rate is going to be there, if they don't feel like they're going to be on the street, if their landlord isn't like, well, I'm sorry that this company didn't help you, or I read something the other day about a small business got a loan and then they didn't understand some sort of a loophole, and they've already paid their employees, and now they have to pay that money back because they were somehow able to get another loan somewhere else. And it's like, stop it. If the banks are not giving that money to the people, then stop giving your money to the banks. If no one on top is going to fix this, then let's do some co-ops. But good God.
Yeah, and like landlords too, they're like, well, we're not getting any help. So it's like, why do we even call you lords? Like, that's like a holy thing. I don't get that either. But I just want to go back to the idea of, like, you know, we talked about the economy, and everyone's like, well, half the people are like, well, you know, if this is so bad, then we need to wear a mask and cover our face. And then other people are like, we need to go back to work. And it's like, oh, and then we have, you know, some interviewers asking, like, when are we going to get to go back to work? And then they're like, well, we're going to get things going as soon as we can. We're going in phases. And then they're like, well, what about the people who are scared to go back to work? And they're like, what do you want? You know, what do you want from us? Like, we're going to do the best we can do. Why do they always want to kind of like instill fear? And I noticed, well, I didn't notice actually, they actually state it themselves, but there's certain like CNN and MSNBC, like there's certain outlets that literally always flip everything, and they don't share positive stuff, and that's a big deal, because we need to hear positive things through all this stuff, you know, and especially coming from the White House. But I think that
I agree.
This conversation has been really great about just touching base on those things, but as far as this being an interview of your spiritual, I just want to bring it back to that before we close the conversation, because I want to learn a little bit more about your work that you do. I know you're getting certified in Reiki. Right?
I'm supposedly certified as a master, but I don't like to use the word master.
A lot of people don't.
It doesn't feel right. I do know that Reiki stands for universal energy. Dr. Yusui was a devout Buddhist, and he basically prayed for something that would help everyone heal. And so this information was, at least I was given to him. I say he remembered it. And it was then changed by one of his students, Takata, to be something that was to be charged for, and a lot of money. And to be a teacher, you pay thousands of dollars, and you know, you're supposed to pay these Reiki practitioners,
you know, we have it in us,
you know, $50, $60, you know, $70 an hour. And I'm like, well, like, you know, like when you hit your knee and you do this, that's Reiki. You know, when your child is hurt and you hug them, that's Reiki. When you say a prayer for someone and then they're in your heart, or they are in your heart, and you love them, and they're across the world. If you think it's the thing, but if you bring it into that emotion, that's like where like I think the scalar waves are, and we're all connected. It's just it goes to them. And so I've never charged. I'll teach anyone, truly, and a lot of it is just like, yeah, you already know it, but let's do some things. But in a lot of meditations, I kept seeing this like blue person, this blue Buddha, and where I was getting into Buddhism, I realized that it was the medicine Buddha, and that, sorry Japan, but this has to come out, Reiki was actually created something like thousands of years ago back in the Yoga Sutras. And so this is where it came from, and it was a gift to humanity. And there were temples where there were teachers that anyone could come, never turned away, people that just did it. And anyone who wanted to learn could do it, because we wanted to teach you so that you could do it in your family, because everyone has access to this. And I think that's really coming around, is that everyone has access to information. Me personally, I don't know if sometimes you use the word empath, and the labels can be divisive. If I say I'm one thing, that can make someone else, think like, oh, well, then she's not this other thing.
Well, that makes me remember our conversation about wordsmith and how words, and especially in English, can not always express everything that we need to express. So yeah.
Yes, totally. But I've always felt very sensitive. My mother reminded me yesterday that when I was a kid, anytime anyone would yell at me in anger, I would straight like physically throw up from the time I could like move until almost like I was a teenager. And then I built up some like really gnarly walls and had to tear them back down again. But like I can walk into people's homes or places and feel things. I feel if something's in harmony. I feel if it's not in harmony. I think I do that with information. I've always been able to put my hands above someone's body and feel certain spots. And later I learned about what the different 7 etheric fields are in the body, the chakras, and how they're all tied into the elements and stuff, and how that if you can feel it, then we can align to more of like a cosmic field of love, which love is a very healing frequency. Tesla said, if you want to learn about the universe, you're going to learn about vibrations. Edward Casey said we're going to be able Casey said we're going to be able to heal everything with sound and light, and a lot of the ancient teachings tell us that we have the ability to do that with our own bodies, with our own thoughts. Our thoughts are vibrations. Thoughts are things. Our heart, our love, our words are vibrations. And so how, bringing this back, how we're speaking to each other in the community right now, we're worried about a virus that's a poison, but I am seeing more damage being done on spiritual, mental, emotional, which will tie down to the physical, because when you're stressed, you're dumping chemicals into your system that are poisonous. And I think right now, the way that we're talking to each other is creating more poison than the virus. I think the fear of having to go back out there because does anyone actually want to go to work? Or are we doing this because we're afraid of losing something? Let's have that conversation.
Yeah, let's be real. I do all these, spiritual things, and, my bio is great, but I still serve tables because, that's what gives me the freedom to run around and do all the things that I want to do until I concrete settle on something. But I love having an open schedule. And they've asked me to come back to work recently. And like a part of me was just like, oh man, like I have to go to work and wear a mask in that environment. And like, of course we don't want to. That's because it's just the way things are ran. I hope that people come back with some gratitude, because before all this stuff hit, I could tell you that I wasn't happy there. There were some really great customers, but there are people that come in and just treat you like you're a servant, and they forget to be grateful for all the things that we do have, that we have created. And I think it's good to cultivate that and protect it, and still, create our economy in a beautiful way, but just, to keep things a little sacred. Eating is sacred, and spending time with others. And like, we don't have to go back as hard, we can go back a little softer, and, just honor what we just went through and what we're still going through. I think that's really important when we step back into the world again, that we just bring that with us. I've been able to maintain a peace of mind through this, because it was like a break for me that I've been begging for. I needed this. I needed this so bad. And so as everybody's complaining about going back to work and needing the money, because that's what it's really about, is that money thing. But ultimately, I think that if it wasn't for the money, we'd all be really enjoying our vacation time right now, you know, with our families. And so I just like bring it back to gratitude, and for everything that we have, then I think that we're in a good space.
Yes, thank you. I'm so happy I met you. You have such beautiful messages, and this is wonderful. I think maybe another question we should ask ourselves is, once we figure out the answer to, like, if we really wanted to go to work, let's talk about what we need. And I think right now, if anyone's listening that, you know, can on a state level or something, while some people are finding, like, I'm with you. This whole thing was a catalyst to me moving back into a family home where it's just me and my children, and it's very peaceful. I wasn't necessarily in a peaceful environment a few months ago, but this was like, okay, go. And so this has been sacred seclusion, which one of the elders in a conference a couple weeks ago shared with us, that we're in sacred seclusion, and that this is for healing. I do think that we need to address maybe a lottery, not a lottery system, but some sort of system about whose turn it is to go to the national park near them, or, you know, the beach or the river or something, because humans need nature.
We have to connect. We have to connect with nature.
Mm-hmm. We may not need the concrete city, and we may not need the Starbucks, and we may not need, you know, some things. But if everyone had economic security and food, we also, and I'd like to put this call out there to people on a state level, since that's where it's coming from now, and also people on a community level. There are people right now who are locked in homes with abusive people.
I know.
Okay, and if you're in there and you're hearing that next door, like, get those kids out of there. Get that woman out of there. If you know, let's.
Man, sometimes.
Oh man, I'm sorry. No, thank you so much. Get that human, get that animal. You know, whatever is going on. Like, we always wait for someone else. You know, it's like, oh, you know, first they said we're waiting for a hero, and then 10 years ago they're like, well, you're the one that you're waiting for, and I'm like, well, I don't really feel like I'm the one I'm waiting for. You know, I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like, I've just made mistakes and I'm very confused, and I'd really like some other people who maybe, like, have a bit more knowledge, you know. But I think that maybe the message was that we as a community, we are the ones we are waiting for, is if each of us can kind of step up and find something to come together about. I'm tired of hearing all this stuff that divides us. What brings us together? We love our children. We all want a safe place. We all would like to have access to food, and we all would like clean water, and we all would like some health care that isn't going to poison us, and we all would like to.
And no one deserves it more than the other, no matter what kind of education.
Oh my God, no!
No matter how much money you have. I just
Yeah.
I know I said it earlier a little bit, but I want to say it one more time. You know, that another thing to take into consideration is, if your mother raised you and you went to college, but your mom didn't go to college, she actually was a dropout, but she was so smart and she cooked amazing food and she was so respectful and kind to people, and you look up to her. But then you go out in the world, but because you have a degree, or because you only respect people with a degree, that you treat other people like shit. And I have to say, think of them like your mother. Like, everybody has something unique to share. And some things you're born with that you don't need to go to school for.
Right.
Like that holy fire in your hands, you have it. And I've gone through, you know, I don't know if you know Dr. Sarah, or like, have you met Dr. Sarah before online or anything? She's great friends with Jose as well. But you know, she and I have had this conversation before about, you know, like the need to keep getting more degrees and things and getting more certified. If there's certain things you have to get, like you have to be trained in to be able to, you know, fully go out in the world and do that work. But there's some things that you can give yourself credit for, and that's the medicine of the moose. Number 11. That's number 11, and I'm calling it out today because that is the medicine of today. It's 11. And moose tells you to give a pat on the back for yourself when you have done a good job on something. And if you've been supportive to your community, and if you've been, you know, some type of light for people, then, you know, you're doing a good job. You're doing good work. And when you're forgiving and you're in gratitude and you're doing all these, you know, you're trying the best that you can do for your community and your family and yourself, then you can give yourself a pat on the back, and that's good enough. That's really good. You know, you can always strive for more, but just, you know, we have to honor people where they're at.
Do your best, right? Like,
Respect people.
yes.
You know, respect people's views.
Mhm.
Even when
So beautiful.
even when someone reacts to you and they don't like what you post. I mean, I've had to like respond back intelligently to people, because I mean, I need them to know that if you're on my friends list, I'm not against you.
Right?
I'm seeking truth, and I want
Yeah.
that for everybody, not just me, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wish that they could truly see that and not come from a place of aggression. So yeah, I just wanted to
Defensiveness, you know. And I like, you know, I may come across like as being very peaceful right now, but there's also like this other side to me. And like, if my children, if they don't know better, I'm not gonna come at them like, ah. But if they know, and like I've told them 100 times, I'm just like, hey. So if I see someone in my community who I know knows better, and I catch them and they're like out there like talking shit or like insulting someone, I'm gonna say something. And you're either gonna respect that, I'm gonna say that because I believe that your heart would want to know. And if I'm doing that, or if I'm angry and I'm upset, or I'm dealing with a wound, and I'm coming across in a way where I'm actually pushing people away instead of bringing them in, then I want to know, you know. So hopefully we can hold each other accountable for that as well, in a very loving way, like call people in, you know, hopefully.
beautiful. Okay, well, Michelle, Michelle. I like calling you
Okay.
Michelle, but it's Misha.
Either way.
It sounds alike, but it is Michelle. Michelle Misha. Is that your middle name?
No, I worked as a bartender and a bar manager for many years in the service industry. I think it humbles us. And I also did some stuff in the music industry and in ceremony and in healing. And I was having a hard time confusing who I knew from where. So I know I ended up making a little nickname for something I was doing online, and it was Misha. And so now I know if like someone calls me that, like where I know them from, you know, or if someone called me Michelle, it would be more like my professional, like I work for a Fortune 500 company as a manager, corporate. I've done a lot of stuff in my life. I've gotten a lot of experiences, and no matter who they are, rich, poor, I trained interns from almost every country.
Wow.
We all have this same beautiful human heart, you know. And we may mistranslate that through language, or we may call things differently, but like if we can like try to see that, try to find what we have in common. It's really easy to see what we have as
Oh my God, you have
differences.
skin. I have skin. That's so cool.
This air stuff is really wonderful, and I like it.
You breathe. So with that being said, I think that we can culminate this video for today, but I would love to have you back on and touch base with you again and see where you're at and where things are at.
Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about things that have been on my mind. Truly.
I know there's so much more.
Yes.
There's so much more.
So much more.
Well, do you want to share anything else before we close out the show here today?
The name of my ministry is called Gift of Love, because I believe that every single being has a gift inside themselves that is unique, that they are here to give to the cosmos, just like we are all perhaps like musical notes in a symphony. Some notes don't sound good together, and you don't always want to hear the same song all the time, but we are all notes, and we all connect on some level, and we all have a gift. And so if you haven't found it, it's not because you don't have it. It's there. It's just we need you to bring that out to the world. We need to sit in community in a circle and come together and find out how we can work together, because I really think that's the only way we're going to get out of this. And all of the people that want harmony, that's it. It's all we have to want. Let's just want peace and harmony. It's not much to ask for us and our children in the next 7 generations. You know, unity.
Agreed. I agree with that. Well, thank you so much. And I'd say that some of the best people that I know are the ones who made the transition from that corporate life and all those amazing things they've gained and experienced and brought into the spiritual world, and then they fuse it together. and it makes such a good, well-rounded person. So thank you, Michelle, Misha.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
until
Thank
next
you.
time, I'm going to close out. Yes, you're supporting. All right, we'll talk soon. Oh, and also, if you want to reach out to her, her info and her links will be in the bottom comment section or in the description. All right.
Awesome.
Bye
Thank
now.
you. Thank you.
You're welcome.